Good evening and welcome to the Star Chamber Show live podcast. It is a great Wednesday evening here in Lexington, Kentucky, where I am broadcasting to you from. This is Stephen Zimmer, and joining me tonight as the co-host is the loquacious, vivacious, and audacious Holly Phillippe. Holly is running just a couple minutes behind, but we definitely will cut her some slack because she has been working very hard all throughout the day. Yes, it's that time of the year, folks, in the month leading up to Imaginarium. And so, yes, tonight we have an incredible guest for you that is coming up just shortly. Somebody is an absolute favorite of ours at the Imaginarium convention, and we're going to be getting into that just a few minutes. And it looks like LJ Mack is the first to enter the chat room tonight, which is fantastic. So love to say hi to LJ. Yes, I wish we gave out prizes for this. Not yet. Maybe if we grow a little bit more, we will give out prizes for first person in the chat room. But it is open. Of course, we do take comments and questions and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, do ask and do leave us questions and comments for us on the air on the chat room. And tonight, yes, we do have a lot to go over with news-wise because a lot has been coming together in the past week for Imaginarium. And so, yes, we've got some good stuff for you tonight, including new guests. And we also have a big portion of the film festival that we want to be sure to share with you. One thing that we were really looking forward to expanding this year on the film festival is giving a showcase for independent filmmakers that are up and coming, whose work is really, really good, who just may not have been just chosen or selected as an official selection for awards consideration. But we wanted to make room for some more filmmakers to participate in Imaginarium and in a big way. And so this year we are doing on a full scale in the Imaginarium 2025 Independent Filmmaker Spotlight. And so, yes, all these are really, really top-notch filmmakers. And like I said, while they, were not selected as official selections, these are really good projects, and we wanted to give them a spotlight and encourage them to participate in Imaginarium. And so Sunday, the 20th of July, we are going to be screening these projects. And let me tell you, there's some real gems in here for sure. So I'll go ahead and give credit to all of them right now, and that would be the movie Meander from director Lexi Bass, and that is a feature film. Then we have Louisville Extreme Park from director Christopher Henry Cook, and that is a documentary. We have A Shot of Cold Medicine from director Nick Bentley. That is a short film. A Tangled Tennessee Christmas from director Aidan Shaw, also a short film. Bay for Blood from director Harry Waldman, short film. Beyond the Book from director Raquel Vaught, and that is a short film. Then we have Broughton, The Awakening from director John Cameron Costello. That is a short film. Fairy Tale from director Megan Daly, and that is a short film. Hoodie from director Landon S. Baer, and that is a short film. Law and Beaver from director Claude D. Miles, and that is a short film. Nerd Series from director Krista Kangas, and that is a short film. No More F's to Give, and yes, you can fill in what F's is. No More F's to Give from director Christopher Henry Cook, and that is a short film. Pieces of You from director Dakota Summer, short film. Power Rangers Demorph fan film from director Darrell Miller. And then last but certainly not least is Crimson and Clover, director Constance Ray Martin, and that is a music video. So those are going to be the projects that are going to be included in our independent filmmaker spotlight. And we're really excited about debuting that this year. It gives more opportunities to filmmakers. And of course, we're going to have the folks from Green Apple Entertainment participating this year and doing individual appointments via remote for Imaginarium attendees who want to talk about distribution and also finding partnerships for production. So that's going to be a great opportunity for filmmakers. So I do hope to see a few of these faces that are in the group I just mentioned as part of that, because that is something that we've really been wanting to develop, pitching to agents, pitching to distributors, and giving independent creatives some real good career opportunities, something we're really dedicated to, and we're really happy that's happening on both the book side and the film side this year at Imaginarium. And so then right now I'm going to go over and see. Let's see. I think Holly has just joined us. Let's see. Holly, is that you?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. There you are. Awesome. I just wanted to, I'll get you up to speed, Holly, real quick, because I know you're running a couple minutes behind. I already told people that you definitely deserve some slack tonight. You've been working
Man,
so hard.
I haven't stopped since I got up,
Yeah.
literally.
But
Shoot.
yeah, it's been a lot. It's been a lot for sure. But I was going over the new independent filmmaker spotlight that we're doing on the Sunday of Imaginarium, which is
Yes.
letting some more filmmakers participate, showcasing projects, and I just gave the lineup that has been chosen for that. So, and then I had some guests to announce, and then of course you can give some updates, Holly. But I'll go ahead and round out the rest of the guests that were announced in the past week. We had several. One is award-winning screenwriter, filmmaker, actor, musician, special makeup FX artist Claude Miles, who is a spotlighted guest. And he has the distinction of being the founder of Catnippery Productions, which is Kentucky's first SAG-AFTRA new media signatory company. And right now, he's got a really exciting venture going on. He's the co-founder of Kentucky Creature FX with Hollywood makeup effects artist Sven Granlund. And yes, great. Claude is great. Glad to see him back at Imaginarium. He came several years back, and he's done so much. And like I said, he's got so many credits. It's crazy. So definitely want somebody to meet if when you're at Imaginarium. We also are welcoming back award-winning filmmaker, screenwriter, and artist and columnist. He writes a column in The Voice magazine out of Louisville, and that is Antonio Pantoja, and he is one of Holly and my favorite people around in the creative community. Definitely another person you definitely want to meet. And then we also have for you to meet, we have a pair of panelists who are panelists for the very first time at Imaginarium, and that would be filmmaker Lexi Bass and author Ross Killey. And Lexi was one of those filmmakers that I just announced in the independent filmmaker spotlight. So I think that rounds out all the updates that I have. But there's some new spotlighted guests, new panelists, and of course the full list of our independent filmmaker spotlights. So Holly, I'll turn it over to you for a second. Got any updates you want to share with anybody?
I'm my brain is so racked right now. um,
I get it.
literally. I do want to tell people I am sending out. I am working on individual schedules. Um, there's a lot of you, so be
There's quite a
patient.
few of you.
They're coming. They're coming. I
Yeah.
did many today. Um, but yeah, just watch out for an email from guest at entertheimaginarium.com. Uh, and I will be sending those out from the panel surveys and all that. And if you haven't filled one out, don't worry. What I do is I go down and if I can't find one from you, I place you where I know you are best suited. So
Yep.
it'll be okay.
You'll be okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're coming,
be okay.
folks. Just be patient. She's working
Yeah,
through
but
it.
if you don't get an email from me and it's like 2 weeks from the convention, yeah, shoot me an email
Yeah.
because something's wrong. But I'll have them to you
Yeah.
by then.
Yeah, there's cases where Holly sends them out and they've
Yeah,
had
that's
them
what I
for a
figured.
week and they don't
Yeah,
realize they have them. Just because spam filters or whatever. But
yeah,
yeah, Holly has been sending out like chunks and chunks and chunks of these
many,
groups
many,
of
many today.
25 to 30 at a time schedules. And yeah, it's
Yes.
definitely a big undertaking, but it's getting done. And so just bear with us. But yes, Holly will have that all wrapped up just shortly. And we will have the filmmaker schedule, the screening schedule wrapped up next week early. Hoping early next week. It might be mid next week, but we're going to make sure that we get the Friday, Saturday screenings for official selections, the Sunday screenings for the independent filmmaker spotlight. That will all be set, hopefully about early to mid next week. Drew Graber, our new co-director of the film festival, had to take a few days for vacation, which I don't even know what that word means. Vacation? What's
What's
that?
that?
But he whatever it is, he's on one right now for a few days. But yes, he's going to be back, and I'm going to make sure that gets rounded out with him, and we'll get that out to everybody as far as the schedule. And and then other updates, just real briefly before we go to tonight's sponsors. as far as the banquet goes, we're down to only about 8 left. So if you really want to have a table seating and dinner service at the awards ceremony, I would get that ASAP, because they're going to be gone with a matter, I think, of a few. I think by the matter of next several days, I think they'll probably be gone.
Yeah,
So
I'm really gonna
make
have to look at
make
those
sure you get
carefully.
those. Make sure you get those. And the other thing is, make sure you get your advance event tickets. Those are only available until July 7th. They save you money. They make sure that you're pre-registered. You'll have a packet waiting, which makes for a smoother check-in at Imaginarium. And again, I mentioned they'll save you money on the walk-up rate, but those are only available till July the 7th. So keep an eye on that. And we have about a week to go before the deadline on ads in our official program. So if you'd like to support the convention and advertise in our digital and print program, please do reserve that space ASAP, because that'll only be available for about another week. We do have a very limited amount left, quarter page, half page, or we probably could accommodate one more full page ad. But go ahead and get that done before probably the end of next week, and you'll be good to go for our program. So that should give you guys up to date on everything. And now I will go over and give the credit to the folks that brought you tonight's show: Sandy Lender, the genre blender herself, and those fine folks at Per Bostet Publications, who you'll see all three of at Imaginarium: Sarah Marion Allen, and T. Lee Harris. Per Bostet Publications is a small press based in the Louisville metro area, specializing in speculative fiction and other outside-the-box books. With 40 titles in print and ebook formats and a handful of audiobooks, Per Bostet offers a little bit of everything. Check out Frenemies in Space, Marion Allen's new science fiction short story collection featuring return character Smart Mouth Connie Phelan. Or try Michael Dabney's latest David Blaze mystery, A Deadly Game, a prequel set in 1984 Philly. You can find these titles and more at perbostetpublications.com, at Amazon, or you can find the press in person at Kentucky and Indiana book fairs and conventions. Per Bostet Publications, where timeless tales unfold. And again, the salute to the literary triumvirate of T. Lee Harris, Marion Allen, and Sarah Marion. And now a little bit from Sandy Lender. And let me tell you, get a copy of this book if you haven't already. It's fantastic nonfiction release from Sandy. Here's a bit about it.
Are you a creative person working a 9-to-5 job to survive? Let's look at how to keep your energy and joy alive with the new motivational business book, Capture Your Dream, from author Sandy Lender. In Capture Your Dream, Sandy offers stories, lessons, inspiration, SWOT analysis, goal stacking strategies, and more to help you map your plan to achieve a dream job or side hustle. As a creative herself, Sandy knows it takes compromise and commitment to keep the day job to survive while chasing the dream to thrive. Assess your dragon score. Learn more about Capture Your Dream at AuthorSandyLender.com.
And thank you, Sandy Lender, as we call her, the genre blender. Check out her YouTube channel, Sandy Says Read. Give it a subscribe and a like, all that good stuff. Yeah, her content is absolutely superb. And so, yes, now the moment you've been waiting for. And we're on time, Holly. Can you believe that? We're actually on
No,
time tonight on our
no.
segment. It's a miracle. maybe it's a little
Maybe
serendipity
it's a sign.
with the magic of our guest tonight, who's a very special one to both myself and Holly. Definitely
Yes.
one of the favorites at the Imaginarium convention by far. And also tonight's guest is in the inaugural inductee class of the Imagination Hall of Fame. Yes. So yeah, you probably are getting ready to guess who it is. Well, you might know already if you've seen our graphics, but he is an award-winning author, poet, filmmaker, and playwright. He was named Poet Laureate by the state of Kentucky, a lifetime appointment, and is the author of 23 books and has 9 plays produced, and over 1,300 of his poems have been published in over 300 magazines. He has also produced 21 documentary films, and in 2013, the University of Louisville opened the Lee and Joy Pennington Cultural Heritage Gallery, named after tonight's guest, the one, the only, the legend, the man himself, Lee Pennington. And Lee, your
Yay!
microphone is on, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
There he is. Great to
So
have you
glad
aboard.
to hear your voice. Oh,
Yes,
it always perks me up.
me too.
Well, it's kind of getting a little thin as I go along, but it's still working, and that's all that counts.
That's all that matters.
You bet.
That is all that matters. And
Well,
How
that mind
are
of
you
yours
two
is
doing?
still working
I
perfect.
can't imagine all you two are going through right now.
Oh,
You got to be pulling out hair and everything else is loose.
I haven't even brushed my hair today, if that tells you anything. It is still on a knot on top of my head.
I
I
hear
use
you.
the term maelstrom. I think that describes it very well. But it's a managed maelstrom, but it's a maelstrom. But we're hanging in there, Lee. It's definitely coming along good, and it's all signs indicate it's going to be the biggest and best year yet here in year 12. And looking forward to having you, and especially having you join our first wave in the Imagination Hall of Fame, and very
Yeah.
excited
Well,
about that.
it's an incredible honor for me and all the others too. A major surprise for me as such things are, but oh my goodness, my head I had to put duct tape around it to keep it from getting so big that I wouldn't have been able to walk. But what a beautiful thing you all are doing. And the Imaginarium Convention is the best writers convention in America, hands down. I
Oh,
mean,
bless
it
you.
is stunning. Uh, and
Thank you, Lee.
I've been
Thank
to
you,
a
Lee.
lot of them, and this is the best.
Well,
No. Well,
thank you
thank you,
very much.
Lee. See that makes my blood, sweat, and tears worth it, and that's what we try to do. I try my hardest, and you know this, Lee. I try to make everybody happy, and you can't make everybody happy, but I try to be as accommodating as I possibly can, and I try to keep it personable, and I know my guest. I'm the one that emails them. I'm the one that talks to them, and I want to keep doing that for as long as I can.
Right.
It does keep it more personable, and all of our guests, just like you, are so inviting and so willing to talk to new and inspiring writers about their journey, and where they're at in their careers, and that's what makes it so special,
Mm,
is people like you willing to share your knowledge with
mm.
everyone.
It's a
Well,
mentorship climate. It's a real
Yeah,
mentorship climate.
if we don't share with each other, we're going to lose it all anyway.
that's
And
right.
you know, we gotta help each other on everything that's going on, and especially with writing. Every writer that there ever was had somebody somewhere along the way helping them out, and if we don't, as writers, pay that back, we ought to be horse whooped.
Mhm.
It's true. We always refer to it as we are collaborators, not competitors,
Competitors, right?
because that's how we rise up, is lifting each other.
You bet. You bet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes,
Every time you lift somebody an inch, you raise yourself equally that amount.
mhm,
it's true.
I
It's
agree.
very true.
Yep,
Hmm.
and I'm sorry. Yeah, you're no stranger to teaching writers because
Yeah.
you had a 32-year stint as a professor of English and creative writing. So you you know what it is to mentor and teach writers for sure. But
As a matter of fact, I taught the first writing of poetry class ever taught in Kentucky. Uh, I started teaching at the university level with the University of Kentucky, which at the time was in charge of all the community colleges, and I started working in Harlan County. And I looked on the schedule, and there was a class listed on the UK schedule that said writing of poetry. I found out later it had been put on the schedule when uh, a marvelous writer from Ohio University had come over to UK as a visiting professor, and they put it on the schedule for him, and he never did want to teach it. But when I
Huh.
came when I came along in 1965, it was still on the schedule, and I jumped on it like a grasshopper on a blade of grass. And it turned out that that was the first time that a writing of poetry class had ever been taught. Everybody around me, writers and teachers, said, you know, you're trying to do something that can't be done. And I didn't believe that. And so if you believe what you're doing is going to work, more times than not, it will work, whether it's
That's
supposed
right.
to or not. And everybody's teaching writing of poetry now. They had understanding poetry classes, but nobody attempted to teach a creative
Writing.
poetry class. So that was the difference. But you know, James, the late James Still, who was a fine poet himself, uh, he supported me by saying to me one time, he said, you know, if every student you had, if not a single one of them goes on and writes anything, they will still love literature, and that would make it valuable to teach it anyway. Uh, but goodness gracious, I have been so lucky with what my former students have done. My Harlan County students, in 4 classes of writing I had there, those students published over 3,000 pieces of
Wow.
writing and
Wow.
over 300 magazines around the world. But everybody wanted to know something about Harlan County, and those students had the answers. So
That's amazing. And didn't you do a documentary? You
Or a
did a
movie. A
documentary about
movie,
Arlen
yeah.
County.
well, yeah, I've
About
done
those years.
documentaries
Yeah.
all over the place, and I wound up. Uh, I don't know to say fortunately or unfortunately getting run out of Harlan County as a result of a book of poetry my students did, and and it immediately made the Associated Press. Who ever heard of somebody getting run out of town for poetry? And and it made the Associated Press, and the story was published in 4,000 newspapers across America. And then suddenly I was in demand as a protest poet.
That's awesome. It worked out
Yeah.
perfect for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you are well deserving, Lee. I mean, you make my day. I will tell Steve, I get these texts just out of the blue every now and then, and I'll wake up and I have a Lee Pennington poem sent
Oh,
to me personally, and that just makes my day. I'm telling you, it just puts a smile on my face, and I tell Stephen, I got a
Facts.
Lee poem.
She does that. That's true. I can
you
vouch.
you make me happy that you appreciate what I send, and
I
you know
do.
I share. Uh, you know, people are so afraid that somebody's going to steal their poems, and I tell everybody that I write a poem and I'll take it out and lay it out in the backyard, and nobody will pick it up. So I've never had any trouble of anybody stealing one of my poems. I don't know what they would do with it if they did, but anyway. Uh, but you know, my first my first rule of life itself is to share,
Yes,
and I'm so glad that you enjoy getting those. Thank you.
I do. I do very much so. And before we get into too heavy of all the things you've done, because, whoo, wow, you have done
Yeah.
so many neat creative things. It's just mind boggling. And I don't think people realize, the extent of where your creativity goes. But we wanted to touch on the corn festival that we've been hearing about, and we were told that you were a big part of bringing this together. So if you want to tell people what your role is, and let people know where they can check it out, and maybe get tickets and all that, that'd be great.
Well, sure, I'll be delighted to do that. My late wife, Joy, and I ran the Corn Island Festival. Uh, I was one of two people, along with the late Alan Steinberg, that started the Corn Island Storytelling Festival back in 1975. So we're looking. This is the 50th year uh,
Wow.
since it started. Joy, my late wife, and I sort of ran the festival. Uh, First of all, through Jefferson Community College, and then when the college felt it got too big for them, uh, we took over the festival ourselves and ran it for 27 years. And then since we've retired, it's gone into other hands, and but it's continuing on. And this year it will be at April 16th, and it's being held in LaGrange, Kentucky, and the historical society in LaGrange is in charge of it, and they have a marvelous lineup this year, including one of the storytellers that we got started early back in Corn Island, and she was on the Corn Island Festival many times, and she was also been featured a number of times on the National Storytelling Festival in Jonesboro, Tennessee. By the way, we just this in the past few months lost Jimmy Neal Smith, who started the National Storytelling Festival in Jonesboro, and Corn Island Storytelling Festival was a smaller branch off of that festival, uh, and we actually had the first board meeting for the national festival in my living room here in Kratz House in Middletown, Kentucky, and all of those people. There are only two or three of them left, and but they were here and and got the national going, and they supported us totally all the way through. Our big event always at the Corn Island Festival, we had multiple events, but our big event was always the Ghost Tales, which for a while we did at actually in Long Run Cemetery, and it got to the point people were doing like they do at football games and backing their trucks in the outer edges of the
Oh, tailgating.
tailgating. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's the only event that I know in storytelling that people were tailgating at. but
That's
but
awesome.
the first event we had there, uh, I got there at 6 o'clock for a 9 o'clock event, and I had earlier roped off an area in the cemetery where nobody would be sitting on the graves or anything. And I roped off an area that was handle 500 people. And when I got there at 6 o'clock, there were already over 3,000 people in the cemetery. And
Oh,
Holy
wow.
moly.
and by 9 o'clock, by 9 o'clock, we did not have a single storyteller at the cemetery that we had brought in.
Wow.
They could not get there. The traffic was backed up on Long Run Road and out onto Shelbyville Road, and they couldn't get in. And I I had laryngitis and there's nothing I could do, but had a little notepad, and I wrote on the notepad, "Can you tell a ghost tale?" and went around through the audience with a flashlight, shining it on that, and got six people to volunteer to get up and tell a story.
Wow.
And we didn't think we would need any sort of amplification or sound system, which was crazy as all get out. And but anyway, we had it. Were wise enough to hire an off duty policeman to be at the event, and
Thank goodness.
we sent that policeman down the wrong way on Long Run Road, asking each car, is there a storyteller in this car? And about a mile and a half down Long Run Road, he ran into what was probably one of the greatest storytellers America's ever produced, the late Jackie Torrance. And he got Jackie in the car and brought her up. And the Courier Journal did a wonderful review of the event. And they said around midnight, the audience was getting antsy. Well, they only had volunteers from the audience telling stories and people who had never told before an audience before. And the Courier Journal said, and they brought Jackie Torrance on stage and said, when she finished, everybody in the audience wanted to go to the bathroom, but said, there are no bathrooms at Long Run Cemetery. So
No.
we we used to have a running joke. Of course, after that we started bringing in porta cans, but we had a running joke that said a short grass for women, a tall grass for men.
That's right.
But
Oh, that's great. Well, I have to ask you, how did you promote this to be able to reach that many people that at that time period, because there wasn't the internet, there wasn't, emails. So how did you reach people?
the way storytelling works the best is word of mouth, and
Uh-huh.
when word got out that we were going to tell ghost tales in a cemetery, uh,
That was it.
that was it. I mean, it just was stunning. We eventually moved out of the cemetery and moved down to Long Run Park, and the parks people actually laid electric line underground and ran it to a stage, and then we rented several $1,000s worth of sound equipment, so it was like a rock show. But many of the people did not know that we weren't at the cemetery after we were there for 2 or 3 years. Uh, when we shifted over to Long Run Park, they just thought they were going to the cemetery, and but it that continued, and it was not unusual to hit 10,000 or 15,000 people ultimately in that event, and we had people literally coming from all over the United States.
That's
We
insane.
we would count different license plates, and consistently 30 to 40 different states of license plates were parking in the parking lot. So they
Wow.
they were coming in from everywhere. And in one year, the year after Jefferson Community College gave the festival up, we got so much publicity uh, that we could not handle really easily either the crowds or the hotels or anything. Uh, in one year, we had an article in Esquire magazine, an article in Southern Living, an article in AARP magazine, and and four or five other smaller magazines. But we filled up the Sealback Hotel. That was our official hotel that year, and we filled up that hotel with out of town guests and guests pouring over into other hotels around Louisville. So it was an amazing event, and it was unlike anything I've ever witnessed in storytelling. Was that particular event, especially following all that publicity. Uh, if you read about it in Esquire and it's in Louisville, Kentucky, and you kind of want to go and see what's going on, and that's what took place that year. So the ghost tales, we would go into the ghost tales with not enough money to go another year, and then after the ghost tales, we were all set for another year. And by the way, of the
Awesome.
27 years we did it, we were only had one rain out.
Oh
Wow.
my. Well, the gods
Yeah.
were looking upon you.
Oh, incredibly so. in, in fact,
That's that is
everybody,
amazing for to be in Kentucky
every,
that time of year and not
everybody,
have rain for that many years. That is amazing.
everybody thought I was some kind of guru and had Providence connection. Uh, we were one of the things we also did, and that was a suggestion of people on the national. We did a program on the Belle of Louisville, and
Ooh.
that was just beautiful. I mean, that we always did that on a Friday evening, and anyway, I was during the day we had a dinner, our luncheon meeting, and the rain was pouring down, and we were getting ready to go on to the Belle of Louisville, and I just facetiously said, I've been talking to the people upstairs, and they told me at 2:31 p.m. the rain was going to stop, and when we got on the boat and everything was cloudy, and at that exact time I had said there was a little hole in the clouds, and the sun came down onto the deck, and everybody stood around cheering. It was amazing. After that, I mean, I could do no wrong.
Well, Holly, if we do outdoor, anybody doing outdoor events, you need to have Lee Pennington involved with you, evidently.
Apparently,
Yeah,
Lee,
apparently.
geez, oh Pete, I
Oh,
need to have him do some marketing for Imaginarium. I'm telling you,
Yeah, that too.
this is
you know,
amazing.
another thing that happened was 9/11, and 9/11 happened
Oh yeah.
the weekend that we were doing the festival, and
Oh,
and we suddenly, nobody was moving. We couldn't even get storytellers in because all the planes were down. But we went
yeah.
ahead and had the festival, and we were uh, as I say, busted, and didn't have the funds for another festival. And my good friend Ben Ruiz, the late Ben Ruiz, uh, did an ad for our storytelling newspaper. It won a Louis, the ad did, and it just simply said, if we don't raise $25,000 by by the middle of December, then we'll have to close the festival down. And by the middle of December, we'd raised $35,000. People
Wow.
people would just people with not a lot of money would put $1,000 on their credit card and that sort of thing. So the festival over the years, and still is, having incredible support of the community and people out of the community. Uh,
Hmm.
as storytelling is every writer knows that story is what it's all about, and uh, every person has a story. They say every person has a novel in him, and that's true. Uh,
Uh-huh.
every every person has a story, and it's a different story, a different perspective, and everybody should write that story and get it down someplace. Uh,
Right.
that's our living legacy. That's what Imaginarium is all about in my mind, is telling the story and saving the legacy.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely. And
Because you cannot cater to everyone, and we try to tell people, write what you want to write. Don't write to what the current, like social
trends,
political thing is,
trends,
trends,
yeah, trends,
trends,
whatever. Yeah,
fads.
yeah.
Write what you want to write. Your audience is there. You have to find them, and you're never going to please everybody. Not everybody's going to like your work. Not everybody's going to give you a good review, but
Sometimes I don't like my work.
which true, we're our own harshest critics. But yeah, you're not going to please everybody, and you are going to get the negative reviews. But hey, Long as you're making yourself happy and getting it out there, that's what matters. What was you going to say, Stephen?
Oh, I was just going to say too. The other thing I'd like to add, in addition to the storytelling, I think there's something very special, especially in an age where everything's so digital, everything's on screens, everything is in bits and bytes everywhere. I think there's something extra special now about oral storytelling, and then also by extension live theater. I think those types of storytelling, I think, are even more special in this modern day and age for what they have to offer.
Joy and I, we did a lot of traveling, especially with our documentary making, and and we constantly looked internationally for people that were very different from us who could come tell stories, and we brought a Huli tribesman here from Papua New Guinea. His
Wow.
tribal name was Pazi Harroli, and his missionary name was Stephen Humby. But Pazi had never seen a traffic light, had never seen a Coke machine, and
Whoa.
we brought him here from Papua New Guinea. Goodness gracious, the little travel person that managed to set that trip up and get him here, and we didn't even know if he could make it. There's no such thing as communication in the highlands of Papua New Guinea, and
No.
and we just had to trust everything and that he would make it. And we had people tell us that that event, just Posey getting up and he actually told a story that was real with them, but it was their creation story, and
Oh, wow.
it was an amazing event. We brought him back the second time. Paji, when he went back home. Uh, he, by the way, took uh, 27 hours to get from New Guinea to Louisville, and
Holy moly.
he sat down in my living room, and I filmed him doing this. He told me every gate number, every flight number, uh, every seat that he sat in from Papua New Guinea. Now, when I fly on an airplane, I'm lucky to even find where the plane's leaving with a ticket in front of me. but
Yeah, me too.
but, but theirs is an oral tradition, and and I figured he would be wonderful for people of Louisville and surrounding area to get a chance to see, just because he came from a totally oral tradition. When he went back home, they made him tell everything that happened to him while he was in America. He was the only Huli that ever came to the United States ever, and
Wow.
when he went back home, they made him chief of the tribe, which is
Really?
which was good. Well, nobody had ever done what he had done, and so he was the most important one there. And
I know.
anyway, they kept him up 3 days and 3 nights for him to tell what had happened in America. And he, when the second time when he came back, he wanted me to take a picture of the garage door because he went back home and he said, "Mr. Lee is magic." He said he comes up to the gate and the gate opens. He goes through the gate and the gate closes.
Not.
And
He's
of
a
all,
wizard.
of all the things he told them, that story they wouldn't believe. And so he went home with a picture of the garage door opening.
Nice.
Uh, but it was just amazing the different people. We brought a traveler from Scotland here,
Ooh.
Sheila Graham, and she told a story of a connection with the Cheyenne Indians that was just amazing. The travelers have a secret language. the Cheyenne have a secret language, and it's the same language. Uh, so,
Oh, wow.
so it's history just flies all over the place when those things are
It
going on.
does. It
Yeah,
does.
and
Well, and like you said, it's oral. It's the oral um, storytelling. They don't have the books, the access to libraries and the internet and the books and everything that we do.
yeah,
Um, so
one of
it is to pass down from ancestor to ancestor.
my favorite stories, and it's when Alex Haley was trying to find Kunta Kinte, and he went back to the tribe in Africa,
Hmm.
the griot there, the storyteller, didn't have the ability to just tell him what happened when it happened. He had to tell the whole story, and so Alex Alex is sitting listening for 2 or 3 days in a row, and and suddenly the story comes up in the middle of the narration, and he realizes that this is the same Kunta Kinte that was uh, finally wound up one of the heroes in Roots.
Right.
But one of the stories that I love dearly is uh, a pretty rich guy went into an African tribe, and he saw all these people listening to the griot, and he thought, I ought to put electricity into this village and set them up a television so that they can watch all the stories on television. And so he did that, and he left, and he came back, and nobody was watching television. They were all around the griot, and he said to the chief, said, that television has loads of stories, and the chief said, and the griot only has several hundred stories, but the television has thousands. And the chief said to him, "That's true, but the griot knows us."
Mm-hmm.
Ah, that's profound.
It is indeed.
I
It's
love.
another of my images. Uh, I know the difference between radio and television. Radio has better pictures.
That's the truth, because your mind's eye make their own. It's the
Yeah.
same way with reading. The book is always going to be better than the film.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Always. Yeah. Yeah.
Because you come up with your own. Your mind's eye, opens up, and you come up with your own fill-ins. And with the movie, obviously, you can't be as descriptive as the book, but it's never going to be the same. It's never going to be as good.
When he said that, actually made me think of last week's guest, Evan Hilton and Tim Miller,
Yes.
with their new audio drama, because that was exactly what I was thinking of. Because when they did their
Yes,
trailer,
Lee, you will
they
have to
do,
check this out.
yeah, they did their
It,
trailer. Yeah, it
their
was,
trailer, they're going to do
yeah,
an audio drama. It's not like, when I first heard it, I thought, well, it's something like a mixture between like an audiobook and like or
radio
you
play.
know like
Yeah,
Wells, like a radio play. But it's different. It's different
yeah, there's different
actors.
aspects. Hmm.
It has different aspects. It's got the background noise. They
Yeah,
took
full
all, like, if
soundtrack
you're in
and
a
Foley
western
and
town, yeah, you can
yeah,
hear the clop 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 of the horses. You can
and
hear
wind
people
and
chit chatting in the bar in
people
the
and yeah,
saloons. I mean, they've got this whole atmosphere built,
yeah,
and
full
then
audio
you've got the
atmosphere.
dialogue. Yeah, it's neat.
Full
It
cast.
really is
It
something
sounds beautiful.
special.
Yeah, that made me
You will
think of
love
it.
it.
One of the reasons that I started making documentaries was that it had, or early on I was just doing audio kinds of stuff, but the documentary made it possible to bring visual stuff into it. And I said, if I can ever get a genre where I can bring in taste and smell and those kinds of things, and I'm going to go for it. Uh,
Well,
it,
give
it.
it time.
Yeah. Well, it'll happen. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
eventually it will happen.
Yeah.
Um, when, I don't know. Technology is going so fast at such a rate that's another thing. And I wanted to get your take a little bit on that, since we've touched on a few things with. Oh, before we do that though, before I get into the AI conversation, I would love to have you tell people where they can go or what they can look up to get tickets and more information on the Corn Island Festival.
Yeah, you just go to the Oldham County Tourism and Convention Bureau, and they'll have all the information on the event coming up.
Mhm.
I think that's the only one they have in LaGrange where the festival's being held.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Thank you.
That
So
makes for a
check it
great
out.
that makes
Oldham
for
County.
yeah, that makes
yeah,
for a great August because we have Tony Acrie's Lagrange Book Fair, and then we
Yes.
have the Corn Island Storytelling Festival, both happening in August. It's going to be a good time in Lagrange
yeah.
for
Yes,
sure.
it
Well,
is.
Yeah,
LaGrange is a good place to
yeah,
have storytelling. Anytime you got a train running down the middle of the street,
no kidding.
it's,
Yeah,
it's a good
true.
place.
True. That's very true. But I do want to get your take, Lee, since you are a different generation than these young little whippersnapper alphas. We are too. But I would
Gen
love to
Zs and
get your
Gen
take.
Alphas. Yeah.
Yes, I would love to get your take on AI, the
Yeah.
current situation with artificial intelligence with writing. Um, yeah, what
Or
what is
filmmaking.
your
Yeah,
take
or
on this?
filmmaking. Yeah.
I
Well,
would love to hear.
my take on AI, which I don't mess with it at all, because I don't personally mess with it. I did see, for some reason, AI decided to uh, critique some of my poems, and it was actually one of the best critique jobs I'd ever seen on my own stuff. Uh,
Well, that's good.
but from my point of view, uh, I don't think it's ego, but it's probably something connected to ego. Uh, I don't really want AI messing with my stuff.
Mhm.
Right, right.
But AI is going to be here.
Yeah,
The only thing is AI can only do what its creators put into it to do. And,
true.
and and the different artists, you would have to have every writer in America giving the input into it for it to be 100% successful. Uh, and I don't think that's going to happen. But AI is going to be doing things really that we're not capable of doing. Uh, for example, in a group that I'm a president of called the Ancient Kentucky Historical Association, uh, we're working with the ancient Welsh and King Arthur and Prince Madoc, and
Yes.
they had a language called Cobran that some of the scholars say is a bogus language created in 1790, but the language goes all the way back into the Mediterranean, 2 or 3 thousand years, and
Wow.
but only a few people have ever been able to even translate it. It is the old Brit language, and it shows up on a lot of American stones, the Bat Creek stone, Los Lunas stone, and the Graves Creek stone. This alphabet and language is on those, and it's a very old language, and we've got a. I'll have to call him a genius. I can only understand a few things he works with, but but he is training AI to translate Cobran, and
Oh,
that when he gets it to the point that it's working, the world will change because AI will be able to just look at a stone and translate it. and translated accurately.
Right.
And so it's the
Right.
AI along that direction and along medical things. AI is going to know more than an individual doctor, because AI will know what 100 doctors know, and so amazing things will happen with AI, but there will still be people around writing plays, writing novels, and writing poems and writing songs, and it's because the creativity, the creative urge, uh, comes both from the head and the heart, and AI comes from the head.
Hmm. That's a good way of looking at it.
Yes.
Absolutely. And yeah,
But
because we,
it's scaring the pants off a lot of people.
oh, definitely. Yeah, yeah, because in the film world, I know it's definitely doing that because they're releasing a lot of AI generated like little film trailers that are completely, AI fabricated, and I mean, they're like complete movie scenes, and so yeah, it's definitely
Well,
definitely rattling a lot of
they're
folks.
probably doing some complete movies too.
Yeah, yeah, it's heading that direction for sure. But we definitely talk about the pros and cons. I mean, I've said I personally I like using it for research. I use AI options for researching topics now
Yes.
instead of using like a search engine like I
Yeah,
used to
well,
use Google.
you're wise to do that. You could still
Hmm.
be using those little cards we used to go in the file in the library and,
Oh yes,
and go through 300 cards to find one word that we're looking for.
I
Uh,
remember those days. Yes,
yeah,
I do. Eve.
Ah.
the internet's changed all of that, and so it's amazing. It's amazing what is taking place with that. But this same person I told you about, he uses AI with research all the time, and he said uh, he had to do a bit of research that he had been trying just on his own for 3 years. And he said in 10 minutes, AI found more than he found in the 3 years.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
I
so,
believe it. I believe it. Yeah.
and that's going to be of great value to us ultimately. Anytime you give us extra time so we can play or do other things, uh, it's
Hmm.
going to be valuable to us.
Yep.
And
Yeah. I
yeah,
think.
I've even found I call him my friend Gemini. It's the AI built into, well, my tablet here, my HP tablet, and it's Google. It's a Google driven engine. And yeah, like Steven says, research, oh man, it has saved so much time. And it is weird because we're Gen Xers. We're from that last generation that did have encyclopedias, that did have to use the Dewey Decimal System, that did,
Mhm.
we
Yeah, we crossed
we
the
had to.
border. Yeah, we're the ones
Yes,
that
I mean,
bridged it.
when we
Yeah.
was in grade school and middle school and high school, we had to research with, actual books and libraries and all this. So, yeah, it's much different and it's mind blowing. It is, but
It is
then,
indeed.
you think, what is it 10 years down the road? What we're going to
Hmm.
see, but we do have to maintain the humanity, the
Well,
human aspect.
somebody's got to run these things.
Yes.
Anytime we lose the humanity under any circumstances, uh, we're losing major stuff.
Yes, I agree.
And we and things go in cycles, but from time to time we lose sight and we lose humanity, and we do crazy things, and then uh, we seem to get on a path and swing back in a direction where sanity takes back a hold again. And we have to be a little bit crazy to do some of the stuff that we do, but we, I don't know. Someone said, "Don't be so loose in your brain that you let it all pour out."
Right.
I love that. I love that.
That's a good one.
Yeah, we all gotta be a little, I always say we're all a little mad here, right? To
Yeah.
to be a creative, you gotta
Well,
be a little mad.
yeah. Well, W.B. Yeats had he had the saint on one side of the circle and the poet on immediately on the other side. So it was 360 degrees apart, but side by side also.
Right.
That's exactly it. I love it. I love it. But yes, I wanted to hear your take on it and get your view from a
Mm.
generational standpoint. And I love it. But before we go, I would love you to talk about, because some people I don't think even realize this. You were quite a musician back in the day, and you did a little bit of
Hmm.
touring, and you did a little bit of roadie, and you did a little bit of everything. So yeah, talk about your music. What all instruments do
That,
you play?
Well, I've done a little bit with my main instrument was the guitar, but in fact, I had a when I was a sophomore in college, uh, I was made news editor of the Pinnacle at Berea College, and the editor said, "I want you to go over to Boone Tavern and interview this guitarist that's coming to play here at the college." And I said, "What's his name?" And he said, "Andre Segovia." And
oh, wow. Yeah.
I'd never heard of Andre Segovia, so I had no idea. And so I went over and I knocked on the door and said, "Mr. Segovia, I want to come in and interview you." And he invited me in, and I got to talking with him and interviewing him. And he had his guitar on the floor open in the case. And
Wow.
my not knowing the incredible genius I was working with or anything about him, I had the audacity, which has embarrassed me almost to end my life. Since I said, I said, "Would you mind if I played your guitar?"
Oh, that's awesome.
And he said, "Go ahead." And
Oh, that's amazing.
I am absolutely certain that it was the only time in the history of Andre Segovia, the world's greatest classical guitarist, without any question. Uh, I am sure that it was the only time that his guitar had Wildwood Flower played on it.
Oh, that is awesome. What a story.
Maybe not, though. You never know. You
he
might have
had
thought, well, that's a pretty good tune.
he had two guitars handmade in Spain in the
Wow.
40s that he paid $10,000 a piece in the
Whoa.
40s.
Mhm.
And
Whoa.
considering considering that in the 60s, my late wife and I turned down a house in Greenup County. We were going to purchase a house up there, and it was an 8-room house with a bath and 100 acres of land, and they wanted $6,000 for it, and
Oh my.
we said it was too much.
Oh my.
Anyway, these guitars cost 10 grand a piece in the 40s, and he told me he kept one in
Wow.
a safe in Spain, and he carried the other one touring, and he said that he could not tell them apart when he picked one up and played it. He couldn't tell which one he was playing; they were so identical. And
Wow.
uh, I asked him a couple of questions that have stuck with me. Uh, I said, one of the questions, I said, "What do you think of rock and roll?" And he looked down at me and he said, "It's a disease, son. It'll go away." And the other question I asked him that stuck with me forever, still is with me. I said, "Who are America's greatest guitarists?" And he said, "Son, America only has one guitarist." Who would you guess?
Jeez.
Himself?
No, no, he was considered Spanish.
Oh, he was considered okay. Okay. Well, beside Jimi Hendrix, no, because he didn't like
No,
rock.
it didn't like rock.
Ooh, I don't know.
Chet Atkins.
Chet Atkins. Huh.
Wow,
That's
he
cool.
liked country.
That's what I thought too. Wow. You know, my latest book is called Segovia's Fingernail, and it's based on the concert that Segovia gave at Berea. Segovia played for 2 hours with no sound amplification to 1,500 people in a room that held 1,300,
Oh,
Stokes Chapel at Berea. And he got 9 standing ovation encores.
Wow.
And
unreal.
I have never seen anything even close to that. And so I have a book of poetry. Uh, it had to do with a poem where Segovia is playing and he gets a crack in his fingernail, and one person is hearing the music and one person is there at the concert to be there at Segovia's concert to be seen at the concert, and and his fingernail catches on a string and it misses a note, and the one who is just immersed into the music is wondering if a music lost, can it ever, if a note is lost, can it ever be recovered again? And the other one saw the crack in his fingernail and decided when it caught on the string, it flew out on the stage and landed in the center of the floor. And that person already had in mind this framed fingernail with a little brass sign under it saying Segovia's fingernail.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
yeah, anyway, but I have fun sometimes with poetry like that, and sometimes they make a little bit more sense than what I meant for them to. but, but, but meeting Segovia, I've had that happen many times. Nothing quite so dramatic as picking up his guitar and being embarrassed the rest of my life that I did. But he, he was a genius. He started out on the violin. He was 6 years old. He was playing the violin to royalty, giving concerts to royalty.
Good
He
grief.
switched, he switched to the guitar, and at 10 years old, he was giving concerts with the guitar to royalty. And when he was 84 years old, he was still practicing 6 hours a day.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what a beautiful, kind human being. You know, he could have killed my soul just by a nasty comment when I asked him if I
Right.
could play his
Mhm.
guitar. I mean, he could have wiped me out for the rest of my life, and instead he welcomed me into whatever space he was in, and
Oh,
it was just insane. But uh, how beautiful that was, and how indelible that is on who I am today.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yep.
and that was a memory that you'll always have. I mean, that's cherished memory, and what he did for you, that's amazing. That
Yeah,
really is. That's a great story.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah, all people that are of major prominence in the arts would have such an approach
Yes,
to others. That's a good
many of
story.
them do.
Yeah,
Many of them do.
yeah, many do absolutely.
it's
Yeah,
true.
and I've met and been involved with many of them. You were talking about my music. I always like to tell a story, which kind of defines my music. Uh, I was given a. I'll tell everybody I was given a concert in New York, and for some reason, I just decided I would play my old Kentucky home and
Yes.
do that piece. And I did, and I noticed this guy was on the front row, and he was. When I got into the song, I noticed tears running down his cheek,
Oh,
and and so I made it an effort to go down and talk to him after the concert, and I went up and I said, I noticed you got very emotional when I played my old Kentucky home. I said, "Are you a Kentuckian?" And he said, "No, a musician."
uh, uh,
That defines how good I was at music.
good or bad.
Yeah. Oh, that's
But
good.
I had a lot of fun with folk singing, and got to chum around with a lot of the folk singers. I got to know Pete Seeger well, and I went over to Pete's house in Beacon. I lived in New York for a couple of years and taught up there, and went over to Pete's house to get him to show me the chords that his sister Peggy had done on the song "The Water's Wide." I could get everything except a couple of chords. I couldn't figure out where in the heck she was getting them from. And so I went over to Pete, and he did about a dozen or so songs for me. I was putting everything on an old Volanzock tape recorder, and Pete said, "Oh, I want to do a song for you." And it was a song called "Who Killed Davy Moore." It was about a prize fighter that died in the ring, and he said it's written by a young kid down in the village, and he said he's doing one topical song after another. He's doing 4 or 5 songs a week, and you got to go down and see him. His name's Bob Dylan, but
Ah,
Bob Dylan.
I never did get down to see him. but but I took Bob Dylan's record "Freewheeling" to Harlan County with me, and you can hold that album up now and can see light through it. The students played it so much. They would come
Wow.
by they would come by the house and play that album 24/7. And so Bob Dylan played a big role in Harlan County with me and my students. Uh, the new movie, by the way, is absolutely precious.
We
Uh,
have not seen it
we have
yet,
not seen it
sir.
yet. Yeah,
We
yeah,
will have to definitely. Yeah, we planned on it. We just
we
haven't seen
wanted
it
to.
yet.
Yeah.
and don't say, well, they should have dubbed in Bob Dylan songs. Just go in and watch it as a movie. Uh,
Hmm.
it should have won a dozen Academy Awards. The two actors, one that played Bob Dylan and the one that
Yeah,
played
Chalamet, Timothy Chalamet,
yeah,
phenomenal.
and the one that played Joan Baez,
Hmm.
and uh, they did their own singing, and
Oh, very cool.
yeah, it was like in the Johnny Cash movie where
Yeah,
uh, Joaquin and what's her
Phoenix. Yeah.
name did the singing, but just amazing. They did an incredible job. So far as I was concerned, they they captured the feeling of Bob Dylan, and that's all you can ask for. Uh,
Mm.
you know, if it's exactly like Bob Dylan, it has to be Bob Dylan. So
right, exactly.
you never want that. You want to capture the feeling uh, of the characters, and that's what they did. So, but it's just a beautiful movie of a time, and it was the time that I lived. Uh, the group I was with, we put the first folk singing group in Gatlinburg, Tennessee in 1963. And it took me 17 years. Uh, we were splitting the money 4 ways. It took me 17 years as a college professor for my annual salary to come up to what I made that summer.
Wow.
Wow.
But as I told everybody, if you had if you knew 3 chords and had a kind of an unusual voice, uh, back in the '60s, you know, you could make a living folk singing.
Yeah. Yeah, now today's music scene,
Yeah.
yeah, I hear much different from the people I know that are doing original music. It's like, yeah, they're scraping to get by nowadays.
Yeah,
But
Yes.
yeah. Well, the one thing I
Auto
do,
tune.
yeah,
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 yeah.
all that stuff. Yeah,
Well, maybe AI will help us there.
I don't know. Auto tune is it's taken a lot of people that shouldn't be singers and made them stars.
Yeah,
Back in the day, yeah, you had true creatives that were, creating,
yeah,
and you still have them today. They're still out there, few and far between, but they're out there,
yeah.
um,
They're out
making
there.
the music. They're out
yeah.
there.
And I
You
think what
go,
it's knocking out is some of them had great. They didn't have necessarily great. They weren't great singers, but they had a unique vocal style, and it was a
Yeah.
signature style, and it was different, and it was something that you really, it's not like today where everything is tried to, they're trying to, polish it so much,
yeah. Well,
and I
it's,
like that.
it's like Bob Dylan. There is nobody like Bob Dylan.
No,
Uh,
No,
yeah,
no,
and
that's for sure.
there never was, and there never will be.
Uh-uh.
And you can have people that can give you the feeling of Bob Dylan, or you can have a Peter, Paul, and Mary do one of his songs and make a great hit out of it. But nobody can be Bob Dylan.
right. And
Uh-uh.
it's like
What
on
an
my
what
yeah
an
my
amazing. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, and then my crazy end of the rock world, guys like Ozzy Osbourne, from the early late '60s, early '70s. I mean, yeah, he wasn't a great singer, but same thing. You knew
Yeah.
the instant you heard his voice, you knew who knew what it was, one
You
of
know
his
who
stuff.
he is.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
unique. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot like the comedians. Jonathan Winters and Jonathan Winters never ever had a writer. I mean, he just most of his stuff were just straight ad lib. And then you had
Wow.
Robert uh, Williams that came along, and with his own brand, and he admired Jonathan Winter, so you had those connections, and unfortunately we lost him,
Right.
but he brought us a lot of laughter.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For sure.
By the way,
Well,
that
where can people reach Lee? Where can they reach
Yes,
you at if they want to
yeah.
see
Follow you.
your books? We don't want to keep you on here too long, but yeah, if they want to see your books, your poetry, reach you personally, where can they do so?
well, my I'm pretty open publicly, and I'm on Facebook with ways to contact me on Facebook all over the place, and including my email. And so you can go on there and find me if you're interested in my documentaries. I have a website, Jolie Productions, JOLE Productions.com, and the available documentaries will be listed there. Um,
Mhm.
the books you can get most everything. You can get any of them in print on Amazon or any of the book outlets like that, or you can order through the publishers. Um Tony Acres
Mhm.
publishing my last couple of books of poetry, and
Yeah, Pennington Press,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Pen- Pennington Press. Can you believe that?
That's awesome.
I mean, and by the way, 7 people so far that came to my poetry workshop at Imaginarium have now books published by Pennington Press.
Nice.
Wow.
Can you believe that? I mean,
That
That's
I did not know
fantastic.
that. That's
I didn't
thank you for telling
either.
us.
How
Yeah.
that is,
cool.
I mean, it's and when I'm advertising for the poetry workshop, I say, "You want your book published? Come on over to this workshop. That's your best your best go of it."
No kidding.
But some of the books I haven't even I didn't see it all even before they were published, but some of the books I wrote like forewords to and introductions to, and suggest they send them to Tony. And but the quality of the poetry that people have done in that workshop and following that workshop it's been incredible.
It's
That's awesome.
fantastic.
And so, pat yourselves on the back because that workshop was really the first poetry workshop. The Imaginarium workshop was the first poetry workshop I've done probably in 25 years.
That is
Amazing.
awesome. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And that's great news. I did not realize that
I
about
didn't either.
all those publications that have come out of it. Yeah, we love hearing those stories. But yeah, that's with an imprint of Hydra Publications, Pennington Press. Yeah, check that out, folks. And that is a poetry imprint. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, Lee. Yeah, thank you for staying with us a little longer tonight. And because I mean, we just love hearing your stories. I mean, we could go for 6 hours or 10 hours.
Yes.
So,
My father always told me, give good measure. Dad was a huckster, and when he sold somebody a dozen ears of corn, he always put 13 ears in. And, and, and that's the way that I learned to live, and that's the way I want to live as long as I can hang around on the planet Earth, and and I hope to do that a little while longer.
you bet, you bet, and we can't wait
Yep.
to see you in July. It's gonna
And by the way,
be
I
great.
will tell you this: I had the same obsession growing up that Nathaniel Hawthorne had, and that is that I was absolutely certain I would die by the time I was 25. And I lived my life accordingly, and I wrote every day just massive amounts, knowing that if I had anything to say, I had to get it said before I was 25 because that's when I was going to end. And I took all my manuscripts after I was 25 and was still around. I took all my manuscripts and put them in a house up in Greenup, a kind of a shack. It was had an 8-foot ceiling, and the manuscripts went from the floor and pressed against the ceiling. So it was 8 foot
Wow.
of manuscript. So a 2.5 inch is 500 pages. That'll give you a hint what it was. And I didn't even look at those for a couple of years. And I went back to look at. I thought maybe I said something in there that's worth keeping or revising or something. And I went back, and there was nothing in the shack. Everything was gone. And I had a big oak desk, and I pulled a couple of drawers out of the desk, and there were my manuscripts made into rats' nests, and
Oh wow.
Oh,
and they were just shredded. Nothing survived at that time
oh,
except what I had with me. And anyway, there were 4 little dead mice in the little strips of paper, and the way I got over that and came out a happy man was saying, if what I wrote killed mice, it was a good thing I didn't show it to humans.
Oh my God.
oh my.
That's funny.
We have to come up with stories to get us through when the story we're presented with is a killer.
Yeah. Literally killer stories.
Little, yeah. I love it. Love
That is
it.
funny. Oh,
You two sound absolutely great tonight. I love your voices. I love your your energy, your laughter. It's you're what makes Imaginarium the great convention it is. You too.
we'll keep
Oh, well,
chugging for you. Don't you worry,
thank
Lee.
you, Lee.
Thank you.
Yes,
And all right.
indeed we will, till I can't chug no more.
Yeah. Well,
But
Holly, do you want to do the
that's a
honors?
great story. I love it. I need to give you maybe next Imaginarium we're going to chat because I need to give you a whole story hour. We need a whole story hour at Imaginarium just with Lee
Yeah,
and questions. Yes, I mean it's just fantastic. I mean,
yeah,
your
I
stories
would,
uplift
I
and
would be happy to do that. It's, but be careful and don't have any musicians there.
or bring your pet mice, maybe. Yeah, don't.
There you go.
Oh, that's funny. I like that story.
that's
But
fantastic.
well, Holly, do you want to do the honors for wrapping up tonight?
Yes. Well, thank you, Lee, for joining us as always, and you're welcome back anytime, as you know. And we will see you in just a few short weeks.
I'm so looking forward to that, Holly and Stephen. Uh, Literally, I can't wait.
I know, I know, me too. I love a Lee hug,
Yes, most definitely.
but I will see you soon, darling. Thank you for
Thank you,
joining us
Lee.
tonight and sharing your stories.
Love you both.
Love you. Good night, Lee.
Good night.
Listeners, join us next Wednesday night, same place, same time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. Another great guest, another great chat. For the rest of the week, be creative. Good night, all.